My name is Ben Clements. I own Simple Elegance Rock Shop. I create the Easy Cab grinding unit. We're going to teach you how to grind through a rock in easy steps and produce a finished cab that's a standard size. First, we need to draw out the size we need, and we're going to use a black marker and cover the entire back end. Then we're going to use a little brass or pencil line, and we're going to go around here and leave a little finished don't go past line. The black makes it easier to see. So we're going to grind here at this angle. Make sure your water's going. We're going to get right up to that little gold line, or silver line, whatever you've used for a marker. So now we have it. You're a little bit out, you're a little bit in, it's fine. You're just getting close to it. You're going to grind this flat, almost up to your little black line, but not quite. Michelangelo didn't start by carving the hairs on the barbarian's knuckles. He drew lines on the piece of granite or marble, and then he had his helpers saw the bulk of it off. This is what we're doing, is getting the bulk of this material off. So now we have a little rim all the way around. So not quite to the line. For the back of the stone, we just move on. We place it right in the middle. You'll see a line going across. That is our contact line. We want to spin it on that contact line to get rid of all the markers. This eliminates all the little scratches and saw marks. If you see black left, that's a low spot where the saw left a little jog in your rock. When you no longer have any black, you have a flat back on your rock. Okay, so I have a fairly flat back. We move to the next wheel. We do the same thing, but with less pressure. We don't want it to flex away from the center of the rock. So we just put a light pressure on and go over it. If you feel you need to, you can go off the edge at a little steeper angle. It is a little more aggressive. Wears your wheels out a little bit, but you don't get a lot of wear on the very edge anyway. Takes about 15 to 20 turns. If you're going faster, of course, raise the number. So we look at this, we dry it off, and we say, do we see any scratches or imperfections? If not, we can move on. So we're going to move our water to our next wheel. We're going to put this on here and we're going to spin it. We do this on each step. It's about 15 to 20 for a medium hard rock. More for a harder rock, less for a softer rock. Again, don't push hard. We don't want it to flex away from the bottom of the rock. We're always trying to balance it in the middle of the rock and on the center of the wheel. So we can dry it off and inspect it to see if we missed anything. Then we move on. For the back of the rock, it's all pretty much the same. We just spin it. We dry it off and look at it. It should be a little shinier each time. So we've done this 20 times. It looks kind of shiny, but it's not quite there. So we're going to move to this end piece. We're going to get this wet, make sure no one's standing directly in line with that. We don't want to eat buffer dust. It's not good for us. We apply just a little bit of polish, damp. We drag into the span. Turn it a few times. This should bring most materials, even very hard materials, to a fast shine. If you're doing rubies or sapphires or topaz or aquamarines, you may want to use diamond paste. We don't want to use the wax-based polishes. They can have issues with the leather. This has a minor pit or hole in here or crack. These little things will fill up with your polish, so we like to take this and hit it on the buffer, and that will help eliminate those. So we're going to go back to this one to eliminate these little pits and holes where the polish has gotten embedded in them. So we move to this one. We pick a polish as much based on the color of the polish and the rock as which one works better, because they work about the same. We apply this and it embeds in there and eliminates all the little imperfections and dries all that white polish out of the surface. So now we're going to do the next step. We have just transferred the rock from the bottom to the top. We're going to turn this on. We're going to pick a point halfway down. Half always works. We're going to grind to that line. So we've got this little line here. If you rub along here, you can see this line is a little more distinct. This is our don't go past line and our get rid of ridge. So we want to get rid of this ridge, but we want to take out the first parts in big chunks. So we hold it straight in. We grind right to the don't go past line, and we grind a little half moon shape. It's right here. Looks about like this. We do the same thing to the other side. So we have another little half moon on here. This goes right to the don't go past line, and we have a little get rid of ridge. So we put it right in the middle of our rock, and we rock back and forth through that little ridge until it smooths out. Then we flip it over. We do the same thing from the other side. This creates a little arch on our stone. This is where it helps beginners to paint the top of their rock. So they paint everything down here, all the way across the top, down to your don't go past line. If you get paint down the side too much, you can go around it once and knock some of it off. We're going to do the same thing we just did, but from the side. We're going to get our little half moon here. We're going to get our little half moon here. Then we're going to rock this to the center, trying to get rid of this little line. If you do this just a little bit, it'll slowly advance towards the center. When you reach almost the center, do the same thing from the other side. The objective here is to get a kind of an X in the middle of your rock. You'll see corners. Once we have this, we're going to take the corners out by going from the center to the don't go past line. Once you've done that, if you feel it needs more work, go ahead and take more corners out. They look a little thick. Then go around it a couple of times and knock anything lumpy from the other direction. We move to the next wheel. So we don't want this straight, so it's not straight up and down. If it is, it'll fall out of your mountings. We don't want it too much of an angle. That'll leave a knife edge. So we want to get somewhere in between. So we say, if this is straight and this is too much, somewhere in between, we grind right down to the bottom of the rock. We know it's just a little too big. If you have a very hard rock, do a little bit of this on the other wheel. Once you've reached the bottom of the rock, test it in your stencil and to see how far it's going in. We want it to start into the stencil pretty good. So we have to keep doing this. We're shaving this in, watching how it fits. Each time we do this, it should go a little better into the hole. So this is getting to the right shape, but it needs to go just a little deeper in, so I just need to take a little more off the whole thing. Each time I do that, it drops just a little better into the stencil. Look for any light gaps. If you see light gaps on the side, you only grind the ends. If you see light gaps on the top or bottom, only grind the sides. Try to use the whole wheel, not just the center of the wheel. It's a little more aggressive at the edges. This is now sitting almost flat with the metal. This is what we want to see, with little or no light gaps in there. This has raised the edge. It's gotten thicker the more you've ground off. So we have to reduce that by half. So we draw a new don't go past line on. So this is our don't go past line. We need to get rid of that. So we angle it, grind right down to that line. So we now have a don't go past line, and if you'll rub a piece of aluminum on here or a brass or something else, you'll see our don't go past line and our little get rid of ridge. We just want to get rid of the ridge. So it doesn't matter how you do that, just rub it out from different directions. You can press aggressively here. You're not trying to reach the center of the rock, you're just doing the ridge line. Hit it from more than one direction. So at this point we want to get rid of the marks on the top, so we go like this. We will paint the top of our rock without painting the edge. So we just blacken the top in with our marker. If you get too much on the side, don't be afraid to take a little bit off. This is now our don't go past line. We don't want to push hard. If we push hard, it leaves a wide track. What we want to do is push lightly and quickly and get lots of little tracks. We're trying to get to the lowest point on the rock. So even if you've done it, you have to keep doing the whole rock till you get all of the little low spots. Just keep working the whole rock. Try to spin the same direction all the time. It helps you keep from making mistakes. Okay, so this rock has lots of little tracks on it. The smaller the tracks, the easier they are to get rid of at this step. So we move our water. Keep the same angle, grind all the way around, make it fit a little better. So we hold this in here and we look and see if it'll almost go through. If I let go of that, it'll fall right through. This is easier for beginners to see by drying it off, painting the edge. Go around it once quickly at an angle and find your lowest and highest place. So my lowest place seems to be right here. It's a little thicker on this edge. So I find the lowest place and make it all that wide. So now this little blue line's all about the same thickness. We've done part way in, so now we're just going to do the whole top. This is a flexible wheel, so it spans and stretches a little bit. Don't push too hard. Pushing hard only wears the belts out more and it doesn't do a fast job. It does an actual slower job. And it can leave little flats that you aren't expecting on soft materials. When you think you have it done, go over it one more time just to double check it. Dry it off to inspect for any kinks in the light, any scratches or pitch you want to get rid of. So we're going to move the water to the next set. We're going to remove all the marker off the edge and we're going to make it pass through. It has to pass through here at 600 grit. If it doesn't pass through, work a little harder. So I'm holding up somewhere, right here and right here. So now it passes through, just barely touching anywhere. Sharp. We do not want a sharp edge right here. If we rub this, you will see our don't go past line. we're going to round that out. So we want to go and roll this over. Just kind of pull it towards you. Round that entire edge out. It should not be a crisp line. Hit it from more than one direction. Try to turn always the same direction when you're working on a wheel. It helps you prevent mistakes of doing a same spot over and over. When you've done that, do the whole top. Dry it off and inspect it. You can't see scratches when they're wet. You can only see them when they're dry. You get kinks in your edges if they're wet. The water hides them. So we dry this off, we look at it, and then we move on. We always move our water so we're not breathing rock dust. It's not good for our lungs. We clean up with a dust mask or a wet rag. From here on, it's just do the same thing and make it shinier. This only makes how frosty it was a little bit shinier. So we dry it off and inspect it. So it's a little shinier. We move on. Hard rocks get every single step. Medium rocks can get every step. Very soft pieces of turquoise and marble and limestone and calcite, we'll skip this step and go right to a buffer. So we dry this off and look at it and say that's pretty good. So we move to the end polisher. We turn the speed down. We don't want too much friction. So we get the leather nice and wet. Make sure no one's standing where they're going to get flicked. Get a little of your damp polishing compound, or if you're doing rubies or sapphires, don't be afraid to get a little diamond paste and put on there. Always drag into the spin. If it gets dry, get a little wet. This will polish almost any material. This produces a nice finish. Now, when we have little cracks and pits in our rock, we want to get rid of the polish that's stuck in there. So we move to this buffer, we turn the speed up, we apply polish compound, and we buff it. This dries the wax-based polish into the grooves and dries the dry polishes out. Fills in minor imperfections. If you have a major imperfection, you'll have to fill it with super glue or Opticon or some other agent. Some glue. So, we have a finished product here. You look at the light and see if it's got any ugly kinks in it, places you didn't quite get polished. And that's the finished product. Thank you for watching today, and I hope you can get a good finished product out of it. These should be standard cabs. Thank you for watching.